And welcome back to another week of Atheists on Air Beyond the Trailer Park. We're excited to be back again on secular TV this week. So this week we are going to tackle the topic of marriage equality and how it affects us in North America and also down under. Before we get started, I just wanted to wish a belated happy birthday to friend of the show, Zach, from the Zacrilege podcast. Hello, I guess it's a video podcast. He had a birthday this week, and he's been a great fan of the show. And, so he started a new video podcast this week highlighting all the rest of us podcast-type peoples. And so you should go check him out. It's the Zacrilege video podcast. So we're excited this week. We have a great panel. Of course, our good friend Beth is back to join us. Hello, Beth.
Hello.
And our good friend Miss Ashley, the mouth of the South.
Hello. Hey, y'all.
I was going to say, where's the hey, y'all? Come on. And we are totally excited. We have our first ever Aussie guest live from across the giant ocean, Miss Donna Downunder. Hello. Hi, Donna.
Hi, it's going.
There she is. Good to have you with us. I was going to say, no, don't drop out now. I was just yanking your chain. We just had an avatar pretending to be Donna, but no. Awesome. We have our Aussie guest. So, ladies, for all of us, I know we were sort of bantering around on Facebook earlier this week. This is kind of a hot-button issue for all of us. We are all pretty darn passionate about marriage equality, and some of us are actually directly affected by it as well. So, for instance, now Beth and Miss Donna are both lovely lesbian ladies, and so this is a real, affects you guys directly because now, Donna, you are actually engaged, are you not?
Yes.
Well, congratulations. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. But now the question is, though, can you actually get married?
Nope.
Well, that sucks balls.
Tell me about it.
Tell us a little bit about how things are down under, because I know a lot of our audience is from the U.S. and hopefully the odd Canuck out there, but they may not be aware of how things are down under.
Okay, so basically we only have civil unions in certain parts of Australia, and even then some groups are looking to disband those completely. We currently have a bill that's going to be introduced to federal parliament to try and introduce same-sex weddings and marriage throughout all of Australia. Previous attempts to do this have failed, however, because the man who is now our Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party in government would not allow his party members to no.
Oh.
So basically we're waiting to find out if that'll go through. If it doesn't, then I'll have to get married in another country.
Well, that sucks. And you tweaked out there for a second, but I believe you were saying that the Prime Minister wouldn't allow his party members to vote against party lines. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, he made them all vote no, or they would lose their position in the party.
Right. Yeah, we lost your audio there for a second. And yeah,
So,
that's kind of more of a Commonwealth thing. I think in the United States, senators and congressmen and whatever, they may be Republican or Democratic, but they kind of, they vote where the lobbyists throw the most money. That would be the way I see it. But in a Commonwealth country, which is similar, like Canada is similar to U.S. in that way, the Prime Minister will often do that. If there's an issue that needs a vote, they will say, you must show a united front within the party or you will be censured.
yes.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
just ask Rob Portman about that. He is a Republican congressman. I don't know if he's in the Senate or the House. Was it last year or the year before he came out in support of LGBT rights, and they've basically ostracized him. And he's now, quote, a target, so to speak. So.
right, but they can't actually like kick him out of office, whereas with the way the Commonwealths do it, they can actually kick them out of caucus or kick them out of any actual position that they have, and then they're just relegated to being a party member, and that's about it.
Yeah,
So
what they try to do here now with the rise of the Tea Party is, I don't think they could actually, like, that day kick someone out and say you're done, but what they do is then they set up an opponent to run against him in the next election, or they try to do a recall. Gotcha.
So, Donna, what's the Prime Minister's beef with same-sex marriage?
He's a conservative Catholic. He has a lesbian sister, but he doesn't seem to understand sexuality in the slightest.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Pope. Dang. So, and as we were talking a little bit before the show went on, Australia is not a religious country the way United States is. So, what do you think the overall opposition has to do with?
I just think, as we've experienced with other prime ministers, is their personal beliefs just trump out everything else.
Mhm. Yeah,
they just do what they want to do. They don't care what the public wants, really.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that seems to happen across a lot of politicians. Sad to say, but that's one reason why separation of church and state is so important, because to me, if you are running for office, your religion should be left on your home doorstep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's very enlightening there, because as some of us were saying earlier in the week, we thought Australia might be a little more progressive than that, but apparently we were wrong.
Yeah, I never would have imagined. I thought that it was legal there, to be honest with you.
Now, Donna, if you were to get married in another country and went back to Australia, would your marriage be recognized?
No, but the moment that it is introduced, it would be recognized.
Well, that's a little something, I guess.
Yeah.
So what kind of legal protection would you have? Do you live somewhere where civil unions are recognized, or what kind of protection do you have?
I believe that civil unions are only recognised in the areas that they actually do them, but we do have certain de facto partnership protections, just as if there was an unmarried woman and man in a relationship, we have the same coverage that they would have.
Common law.
Yeah, we would call that common law. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. But that can have various degrees of strength. Like, for instance, in Canada, common law, we call it actually common law marriage. So after a certain time period of cohabiting as spouses, you are considered legally married in a common law sense, and you have pretty much, as far as I know, all of the same protections that an actual married couple would have. I should know, because I am a common law spouse. I should probably learn. But yeah,
go ahead, Deb.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know in parts of the country here for straight marriages or straight common law marriages that is the case, but like for those that are gay, no, common law marriage does not apply.
And it's kind of like, I don't see how they can differentiate with that, but nah.
Yeah.
Common law marriage doesn't exist in Georgia anymore either.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
for
they did away with that probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, see, I know it's
so
still here in PA.
so what would a straight couple like? Would they have any protection then if they're just cohabiting?
Nope. I can easily just leave. I mean, Bobby and I are not married. So, I
Right.
mean, if he decides to wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm tired of you talking about my equipment issues and leaves, then we can do that. And I mean, there's nothing I could be stuck with bills and there's nothing I can do about it. Or vice versa. I can decide one morning that I'm tired of his equipment issues. So,
Wow.
Poor Bobby.
I said before, I thought he had that fixed, but
we thought the medicine worked, but it didn't.
see now, if I wanted to get really, it's okay. I was bugging him last week, sending him voice recordings of me saying "Gnat."
I know. I loved it. She
Oh,
said hi.
shit.
He's about to say hi.
First of all, my equipment is fine. Thank you. Just want to point that out. All this equipment talk about me.
We believe you, Bobby.
And by the way, Deborah, thank you very much for my gnat.
You're very welcome. So,
I'm leaving you.
Yeah. So do you think, Ashley, when they got rid of Kamala, do you think that was sort of a countermeasure against same-sex unions?
To be honest, I really don't know. I know the reason why they did away with it was because they believe in they thought that if they did away with common law marriage, that it would force more people to go to the church to get married.
Okay. Yeah, they don't understand cohabiting very well then if they think that.
They don't understand marriage very well because you don't have to go to a church to get married.
There
Right.
is that too. Exactly.
Georgia is a very, very, very religious state. I mean, we're a Republican state, and I mean anytime you turn around, it's all about the religion.
Of course. It figures. Oh boy. So, well, and actually, Ashley, you kind of have a personal stake in this as well, if I recall you saying. And what's that?
My brother is gay. He did go to another state to get married. He lives in Atlanta though. And he's out about it. It's not, none of the family members hold it against him. But it's just the fact that he's living with his husband and they have no rights. I mean, they're in their personal life, their marriage is legit. Okay. And I perfectly understand that. But I want them to be able to go to a courthouse in Georgia and put it on file so that they can have the same rights as I would if I were married to Bobby or vice versa. And it really, really upsets me. And I'm thinking that there might be hope with Alabama.
Yes.
Because we're so close. I'm like, if Alabama can do it, come on, Georgia can do it, And it's sad because all these neighboring states around us, it's legal.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm sitting in this hole, and we've got people. I mean, it's normal here. Why not go ahead and legalize it?
Mhm.
Well, I think part of it, too, what a lot of people don't realize, I mean, besides the whole overall LGBT issue where I can be fired just because I am gay and for no other reason, especially being in a right-to-work state, I don't have that protection. But when I lived in New York, my partner and I, we were together overall 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when her mother, my mother-in-law, when she fell and broke her hip and was admitted into the hospital was like, well, you can't come in, you're not family. I'm like, yeah, I am. And luckily the doctor that was taking care of her looked at the nurse and pulled her aside. I don't know what he said to her, but basically I said, I'm just as much family as anybody else. I was actually her medical proxy.
Yeah.
And without doing that type of paperwork, if my partner would have been sick, and let's say she told me, pull the plug after 3 months if there's no hope, her family could have gone against those wishes, and there's nothing I could have done.
Yeah, that's a huge concern for couples.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Straight and gay, by the way.
Yeah,
we're right. And one of the, and this is now my brother's mom. We have two separate moms. Different moms, but his mom supports him 100%. And but if he goes into the hospital for some reason, she has to leave Savannah and go all the way to Atlanta just so that she can sign off on his medical care. Now, she doesn't go against what his husband wants. You know, she'll go in there, what you want to do. You tell me what you want to do, and I'll sign off of it. But to have to drive 4.5 hours just to sign a medical form?
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like people don't realize, like, hopefully my brother's not listening to this, but my mother, I doubt he is, but my mother recently passed. And one of the issues that came up is the fact that both my parents want to be cremated. And my dad told me this. And I was kind of shocked considering their religious beliefs. And I point blank asked my dad, I said, well, what does my brother think of it? And he's like, well, he's not really for it. And, that could have been an issue had my father passed as well. Because then you got me fighting against my brother. It causes issues within families when there isn't a cohesiveness there. I mean, just simple things that straight couples take for granted, whether they're married or not. I mean, look what happened in Texas with the woman that was comatose. Basically, she was dead, and then they tried to force her through with a pregnancy, even though they already knew that the fetus was dead or very severely deformed because of what happened to her.
Yeah,
I mean, having that right to be married, whether you're straight or gay, has really, really big implications.
Absolutely.
And
how does that? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and this is where people that have common law marriages, or some states are actually trying to push to eliminate the courthouse marriages. They're trying to push the issue. I can't think of the word. It just went poof. But to prevent LGBT marriages, they're trying to eliminate the courthouse marriages just so, the LGBT can't have it. But the problem is, you do that, you got a lot of straight couples that are being affected. So it doesn't just affect those of us that are gay and lesbian. It affects straight couples as well.
Well, I mean, if and when we decided to get the piece of paper or whatnot, I mean, I call him my husband, but he's a Buddhist and an atheistic Buddhist, and, well, you're not dragging my ass into a church anytime soon for marriage. my first marriage, we found a service that they would give you, because it's easier to get a quote minister, but we found one that he did the whole ceremony. We were adamant there was no mention of God anywhere in the damn thing. We don't want to hear it, and that was fine. And we got married outside, which was fine too. And I mean, it pissed rain, but what are you gonna do? But, if somebody.
I was going to say, Donna, do you have issues like this in Australia with the medical?
I was getting to that, yeah.
I actually don't know. I haven't heard of anything like that here. I've heard of it in other countries, but I haven't heard of that here. You just say you're their partner. And I think our medical field is a lot more forgiving of same-sex relationships than, say, other countries.
Oh, that's good. Definitely. Because, I mean, I've heard some just awful stories of, people that have been with their spouse for decades, and they're being turned away at the end of their partner's life because you're, quote, not a relative. Like, who the fuck are you to say that?
Well, look at the funeral that was canceled.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
I think the day of the funeral, if I remember correctly.
No, it had started already.
Oh, had it started? Okay,
yes.
I didn't read the article.
Yes, so for anybody who didn't know, I forget what state this was in, but it was a lady who had passed away, and they were having a funeral, and this really got me. They brought their own minister, and they were just renting the church.
Okay,
so
yeah, I got the article
it wasn't even the minister at that church. They brought their own minister who knew that the lady who passed had been married to a woman, and the wife was there, and the pastor of the church that they were physically in. They were all seated, the family, like they had the coffin there, and I think they had either just started or were about to start, and the pastor came and told the funeral group that they had to remove photos of the married couple and turn off a photo montage that included pictures of the married couple. And
yeah,
of course,
the
family said, "Fuck you," and the pastor said, "Well, you're going to have to leave." And this is after, I believe, they had paid over $400 in advance for renting the hall for the funeral, and they had to move that poor woman's dead body across to another venue. And stop the whole funeral and have everybody leave and go to another venue. And this is after they've already paid. And now I don't remember, memory serves, and Beth, if you've got the article, I think the pastor was even refusing to refund the money.
Well, it's Pastor Ray Chavez, and it's New Hope Ministries in Colorado. And you're right about the 400. Let me see. Trying to see if it says. I'm trying to read it really fast. This one does not say about refunding the money. Oh, we asked the family about the 400. Walked it over to on Monday, so it looks like it was returned. If I'm reading this, I'm reading it really quick, so. But yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, I saw the headline, and it's in my list of 8,550 articles to read, and I was just like, I knew if I read it, it would really probably piss me off. That's probably why I didn't. But I didn't realize it had already started. But the only good thing that they were able to, it was across the street. They had to move it to the funeral home.
Yes. So thankfully they didn't have very far to go, but apparently, trying to get the pallbearers to move the coffin and all that was just horrendous. Like, can you just imagine? Yeah. That's the kind of thing where you just want to drop kick somebody or, belt them over the head with a crucifix. It's like, yeah, you like Jesus? How do you like this Jesus?
One of the things that I could tell you, too, is that, anybody who knows me knows that I was abused for, like, not the last 5 years because I've been with Bobby, but 10 years prior to that, I was abused by my ex, who I have kids with. Do you know that in the state of Georgia, even though we weren't married, but we have kids, he is allowed to be in control of my medical care. He can literally, Yeah, if my parents were to not be alive and my kids were not of age to make sound mind decisions, he can come in there and say, I want this done to her, I want this done to her, and Bobby won't have a say in it.
How the hell is that possible? Like,
because we have a connection.
Yep.
Our kids.
So fucking what?
Now, would you be able to get like a medical proxy written up where either Bobby or your kids would be? I mean, where you can override
yes.
that.
I actually do have that.
I was gonna say, if not, you better get one.
Yeah.
Trust me, anything that I have is either right now. My mother doesn't even have rights right now to say what she can and cannot do with my life. She's just, that ain't happening. But they had to have a family member, and because my kids are not of age right now, I had to give them my dad's name. And then there's Bobby's name, and then if my kids are if they're 18 or older and something happens to me, then they have a say so in it.
Yeah.
But I do know that my dad will go with whatever Bobby wants to do.
Well,
see, and that's what's so bizarre, because if you think about it, taking your case, Ashley, that is what we, the LGBT community are fighting for, and if we get it, then you get it. And
I know.
And that's what people don't seem to... It's not like we're asking for special rights. We're not. We're asking for the exact same thing you have.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what pisses me off when they talk about, oh, they want special privilege. No, fuck you. No, asking to have your religious shit get preference is special treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting the same thing that everyone else has. That's called equality, people.
Well, it's like I was talking to the kids at work the other day, and they get to listen to my insane rantings and like I said in a post I put up in AOA, is that a lot of my blog posts come out of what I talk about the kids with, and just off the cuff I said, well, you do realize, I was talking to one of the owner's kids, I said, you realize that your mom or your dad could come down here right now and look at me and say, I'm firing you because you're gay and there's not a damn thing I could do about it. And he looked at me, he goes, really? I'm like, yeah, really. I said, there's nothing I can do because we don't have... I'm in an area that does not have the anti-discrimination laws like parts of Colorado do. So it's like, yeah, people don't realize that. I would like to be able to be secure in my job. Not that I have an issue where I'm working now, but it has been an issue. I'd like to be secure in my job knowing that, some jackwad can't just fire me because I'm gay.
And your state is something called work to rule, right? What does that mean?
Right, it's right to work. Basically, what it is, they can fire. It's like being a month-to-month lease rental. Okay. You don't have a lease, but it's open-ended, so I can quit whenever I want, and they can't hold that against me. They can fire me for whatever reason, and there's nothing they can do. Now, so there are some states that are right to work, but they have the anti-discrimination laws. Pennsylvania does not, at least not as a state. I believe Philly is working on it right now just for the city. So if you work in an area that does not have an anti-discrimination clause, there's nothing you can do. And that's why we're trying to get it instituted on the federal level, because then it doesn't matter what the states do. But we know how that's going.
Georgia's a right-to-work state with, anti-discriminatory. That's a big word for me to use. Anti-discriminatory laws. But they could. Just because I'm doing these shows, they could you know what? They could walk into my job and say, you know what? We don't want you working here anymore.
Yeah, and it's not just being gay either. If you're an atheist or a pagan, they can use whatever. I don't like the color of your hair. that's being a little hyperbolic, but there's other there's other political ramifications with the right to work state. Just look at Michigan and Scott Walker, with trying to bust up the unions. Mm-hmm. And that's why having a union, if you are an other, is important, because it protects you. And that's why they want to get rid of the unions too. I mean, there's other ramifications in there that people just aren't aware of or don't even consider.
What's it like for you, Donna? What's the employment situation like?
I think it depends on what organisation you work for. We have religious organisations, but they usually state that you have to abide by, their religious laws and stuff like that. But when it comes, I work in government, and my sexuality is not an issue. Atheism certainly is not an issue, because there are so many atheists in Australia, or people who just say I'm agnostic or I don't have a religion, so it's not such a big deal. So it just really, it's more of an intuitive thing. If you're in an area which is mostly religious, you don't talk about it.
Right. Well, I know here we actually have very stringent anti-discrimination laws as far as hiring. Some people may know, but I just finished doing school for human resources, so I got all this shit in my head already. But you are not even allowed to ask what someone's orientation is. You are not allowed to ask what someone's religious proclivities are whatsoever. Now, if they volunteer you that information, you can't do anything with it either. So if, for instance, hey, my same-sex partner and I are going on vacation, and you kind of go, oh, same-sex partner, huh? And then they fire you the next week, they could very easily sue you, and there's a possibility, if they could prove it, that the employer would get severe fines for that. Same with religion. If you said, well, I'm a Muslim and I have to pray 5 times a day, they legally have to accommodate you up unless they can prove extreme hardship to the business. So there are some things like Sikhs wearing knives and things like that where it gets a little dicey, and safety would be an issue. So, for instance, if I had to, for religious purposes, wear a turban, and my job requires you to wear a hard hat, then there's going to be a problem because its safety is an issue. So that's where it kind of works in. But, I mean, I like the fact that, you can't even, if you were to even intimate to someone that you want to know what their orientation is, and then you don't hire them, they could sue you for that too. And so we have a lot more protection than most places. For sure. Let's take a minute, and I have this week's creation moment for everybody. And then, Beth, you had a news article about some idiot who doesn't understand what bisexuals and marriage has to do, if I recall. Yes.
Oh, that one. Okay,
yeah.
Let me find it.
Well, let's hear the creation moment.
Behold, the atheist's nightmare. A well-made banana.
Oh, gosh.
Human mouth. It's chewy, easy to digest, and it's even curved toward the face to make the whole process so much easier.
I choose to believe what the earth is young. When we do that, when we understand that creation is the truth, then we understand where all of our doctrine comes from as well.
I just want to let you know that there actually is a book out there that actually tells us where matter came from. Bill, I do want to say that there is a book out there.
Next time you hear on television somebody say millions of years ago, what's the question we're going to ask them? Were you there? Were you there? Call them up on the telephone and say, excuse me, Mr. TV man, were you there? Only way we could know what happened in the past if someone was there to tell us. That's right, dinosaurs lived beside people. And of course you'll have an evolutionist who'll say, that's not right, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. What do you ask them? Were you there?
Hello and welcome to this week's Creation Moment, a little slice of creation silliness I get in my email every day, and I'd like to share it with you so that we can all get a taste of just how crazy creation shit is. And on this week's Creation Moment, host Ian Taylor talks to us about the Texas thread snake.
Yes, yes. The fruit of this tree is delicious.
Let's hear what he's got this week.
When you are a small animal whose diet could injure or even kill you, eating can be positively dangerous. That danger increases if you belong to a family of animals that normally take minutes or even hours to swallow your victim. The adult Texas thread snake is only about 6 or 8 inches long and a little thicker than a strand of spaghetti, and it has a jaw unlike any other creature. It eats ants that could seriously injure or kill it.
Okay, well, the crazy starts right off the bat this time. See, I looked this up. The idea that the thread snake's diet of insects could be deadly to it is actually just speculation. There's no empirical data that actually proves this. They're going by the fact that the snake appears to prefer eating the soft larvae of the insects and not the full-grown adults. There's nothing that says that the insects themselves are deadly if you eat them. Oi, continue.
As you may know, snakes generally take several minutes or even hours to swallow their food as they slowly stretch their jaw around their prey. But this method wouldn't work for the thread snake. Its lunch would have killed it by the time it was swallowed. So the thread snake has a lower jaw filled with teeth and a hinge in the middle. As the lower jaw hinges in and out several times a second like a swinging door, ants disappear into the snake in the blink of an eye. Thus they are able to down dozens of ants a minute.
Okay, well, he's got the jaw part right at least. The thread snake does have a jaw design absolutely unique to its own species, but missing the point. The snake's diet doesn't kill it before it gets eaten, especially since, as I said before, it's documented to prefer the larvae of the insects and not the actual adults anyway. Man, where does he get this from? Okay, what's next?
The Texas thread snake is more than a witness to God's wise design. Its unique jaw structure is essential to its survival. If evolution is true, the Texas thread snake would have become extinct during the millions of years it waited around for evolution to find a solution to its problem. In addition, since there is no other vertebrate with a jaw like the Texas thread snake, what could it have evolved from? Unlike the serpent in the Garden of Eden, the thread snake truly bears witness to God's greatness.
What the actual fuck? Are you kidding me? Okay, if God was such a great designer, why the fuck did he make it so the snake wanted to eat something that supposedly kills it in the first place? Hello? That's not exactly a smart design, people. And then we get to the ridiculousness of what this guy thinks evolution is. Natural selection means that you end up with whatever configuration gives you the best survival. So there's something about this snake and where it lives that caused it to evolve in the way that it does. Perhaps that type of insect was the only thing around to eat, and it evolved its particular type of jaw to better eat the larva with. That would make a hell of a lot more sense than God coming up with some dumbass design because he's too stupid to come up with something that's more edible in the first place. And don't get me started with what could it have evolved from. Ugh. That sounds a lot like, why are there still monkeys? Shit. If you need to answer that question, you need to go back and read some biology and a book or two about evolution, people. And the prayer this week is a doozy, too. I thank you, dear Father, that you have provided for the needs of all your creatures in a way that witnesses to you. Right. Witnesses to the fact that you can't design a bloody snake. I mean... It eats stuff that supposedly kills it unless it can eat it super fast. Right. Thanks, but no thanks. Anyway, that's it for this week's Creation Moment. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me a little bit off topic here, but sticking with the creation moment. I was looking something up today. I don't remember exactly what, and I came across the AIG, their website where they answer questions, and one of them was dealing with creation. It was dealing with Noah's Ark and how many animals were on the Ark, and he pulls out this number of 16,000. Okay, that were on the Ark. Now, I don't know if y'all have seen the meme where it talks about if the Ark happened, that there would be 0.63, I think, square feet per animal on the Ark. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, where did he come up with 16,000 animals on the Ark?
Yeah.
And then he compares it to the industrially farm raised chickens. You know how they cram a ton of birds into the factory, the farms there.
Yeah, you fucking tried doing that with an elephant.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like looking at this, I'm like, oh my god, where did they pull these quote facts from? Like, where did he come up with 16,000 animals?
Yeah.
It's like where did they come up with this shit?
Well, these creation moment people, like, I don't know where the hell they get their ideas from, because every time I go and look it up, I'm like, well, that's not right. What the fuck?
Is this guy out of Texas by chance?
You know what? I'm not sure where the actual company, like, he sounds like an Aussie, I think. I don't know. Donna, is that an Aussie accent on that guy?
Kind of. If he is, he's an upper class Aussie.
Okay. He's trying to sound all snooty.
Yeah, he does. He sounds super snobby.
Well, he's a dumbass either way. Unless they give him like a script to follow, I don't know, but he hasn't said anything right so far. And I get at least, this is an emailing list that I'm on, and I get one of these sent to me at least one a day, sometimes more. So, and just so everybody knows, apparently Creation Moments has started their own YouTube channel now. Can't wait to see that.
Oh, Lord help us.
I know. Yeah. Oh boy. All right, so from creation idiots, let's go back to anti-gay idiots. So what is, did you find that one, Beth?
Yes, I found it. I had to think which one it was. It's Mike Huckabee. Good old Mike. Yes. Yes, and for those that aren't aware, I think he's still contemplating throwing his hat into the ring for 2016, hence my interest in him, besides the fact that he's a bigot. But basically, he wants to ban marriage equality because bisexuals demand 2 spouses. Okay, so this is from Right Wing Watch, and basically, I'll just read it. Hey, stop! Where are you going? Come back here. My browser's playing. It says U.S. News.
Savannah.
Yeah. U.S. News posted excerpts today. This was actually posted on the 8th of January, so it's a couple weeks old. I'm a little behind. Posted excerpts today from an early copy of Huckabee's new book, God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. Yeah, where the former Arkansas governor and likely presidential candidate tries to make a case for banning same-sex marriage. He gets into Jay-Z and Beyonce's marriage, and comparing Club for Growth, one of his fiercest critics, and I'm not aware of them, so I'll be looking them up. Stop moving. To suicide bombers, which is there's an issue on that came up today. I didn't read the article.
What the hell does Jay-Z and Beyonce have to do with it either?
He went. Well, was it? I think it was when one of President Obama's children wore a T-shirt, and it started with that. And he's saying, well, they shouldn't be listening to Jay-Z's music anyway. I don't know. These guys just yeah, they're nuts. But the follow their life.
That's a hetero couple.
Yeah, it's kind of like playing connected dots, and normally you would do it in a straight line. These guys, it's like all over the place. But he goes on, he claims that the government must continue to prohibit same-sex unions because of bisexuals who, according to Huckabee, desire to have two spouses, one male and one female. Shouldn't a bisexual be able to have both a male and female spouse, Huckabee asked. Wouldn't restricting that person's access to both genders be denying the bisexual his or her marriage equality? Okay, and it goes on, unsurprisingly, he's not the first anti-LGBT pundit to completely misunderstand bisexuality, and it goes on. It's just like, dude, I know a lot of bisexual people, and they don't want to marry.
I mean, most people find that one spouse is generally enough. And I mean, just from an energy and resources and you know, that kind of situation, if you look at the polygamists out there, they have a lot of work ahead of them, you know.
Well, like see, I think that's where he's going with this, because today there was an article, and it does kind of have me thinking, because I know it's the, quote, slippery slope where they say, well, if gays can get married, why not have polygamy? And of course, and then they take it even further down the line, and I think that's where Huckabee was heading, is that, you know, instead of pulling out polygamy, he decided to go with bisexuality. Yeah.
Now, I mean, personally, I actually advocate for legalizing polygamy and polyandry as well. I don't see a problem with that as long as everyone's consenting adults.
Yeah. And that was something I was thinking about earlier, and I wish I had the article handy, but I don't think I do. But it's like you said, it's consenting adults.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like Warren Jeff boffing a 14-year-old and then calling her his wife.
Exactly. And the whole slippery slope, well, now I'm going to want to marry a donkey. Like,
yeah.
Seriously? Well, maybe it's the Ezekiel donkey, huh, Ashley?
Well, if it's Ezekiel, yeah.
Well, part of the problem, and I call this the Nazification. They use and he went into it because it's one of their talking points where they're comparing everything that they don't like to Nazi Germany. He goes, it's like he warned that Americans are following in the footsteps of the Nazis by losing sight of moral principles. When we tinker with marriage's definition and decide that it can mean anything we wish for it to mean, and that rather than to take a biblical perspective, and there's the issue right there, marriage is not biblical. Marriage predated Judaism. It goes back almost 10,000 years.
Well, and if you've seen that meme that goes around about, biblical marriage, so is that like one guy and 4 wives, or is that like a guy and 6 wives, or is it, then there's my favorite, Solomon, who had, like, what was it, 500 fucking wives and 600 concubines? Like,
yeah, something like that.
I think I wrote somewhere once that he married a country and fucked another country.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And or there's the Quran where you can have temporary marriage.
And then doesn't Mormonism have one where like you can be dead and get married or something?
Yes. Well, in Mormonism they have this thing called sealing where you are married for eternity. So
okay.
Is time and eternity. So if you get sealed, that's your spouse for eternity. But let's say, you get married in the temple and you're sealed to your spouse, whatever, and then along the way your wife dies. Okay, so you can go and remarry, and you can get sealed to that wife. Well, then it's like, well, what happened to the first wife? Well, you get married, you're still sealed to them too. So actual mainstream LDS are still practicing polygamy in heaven, because anybody, and let's say you're a woman, and you get married and sealed, and your husband dies, and you remarry, and you get sealed to that husband, well, technically, you belong to the first husband, regardless. Like, it's really fucked up shit. So, yes, it's eternal polygamy, but, you know, you're just gonna, if you're a woman and you're a Mormon, you're just gonna pop out spirit babies from now and eternity anyway.
Spirit babies.
Oh, yeah. As I say, the only thing crazier out there than Mormonism is Scientology.
This is true.
Man.
Yeah,
that's something I don't know anything about.
You have to watch the show. Yeah, you had to go to work that night, so you missed out on all the fun stuff.
The only thing I know about it is Tom Cruise follows it. That's it.
Oh, Scientology. Yeah. We have a good episode on that. You have to go check it out. We had
it out then.
An ex-Scientologist on the show back then.
My
Donna,
friend Rob.
you were saying something, Donna?
Say what?
I thought you were trying to say something there.
Oh no, I was just saying, you know, it's true Scientology. It's all whack. It's when we have a Church of Scientology building here in the city, and when people go and protest it, they have to wear masks because otherwise they take photos of you and track you down.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they do that here. Yeah.
Wow.
But, Donna, as far as, like, I call them the religious Reich. And my definition is not conservatives, and it's not generally the GOP, but they are part of the GOP. Do you have, like, the religious extremism, like, where they're, as I call it, Nazifying anything that they're against? Like that, as far as LGBT specifically in Australia. Do you have those kind of nut jobs?
Well, we just call them extremists because we have religious people here who don't give a shit about whether we get married or not, or whether you're not a believer. So that's pretty much it. They're either fundamentalist or they are extremists.
Do they go to the extreme, though? I was going to say, do they go to the extreme of making these insane analogies to, like, Nazi Germany, for example? Do they do that there or no?
That seems to be American specific, but they will.
Boy, I'm proud.
Yeah, proud to be an American.
That's Merkin, isn't it?
Merkel.
They do come out with these pretend medical or pseudoscience examples that our medical association always shoots down anyway, but they will claim that it's fact. Like, we had the leader of our Australian Labor Party, which is the political party, come out and say that being a homosexual is proven to be worse for your health than smoking. And
yeah. Good old nurse. Yeah, that's coming from nurse.
At the Australian Medical Association came out and said, actually, we've got studies that contradict that. They also said that kids who had same-sex parents were worse off than heterosexual parents, and the AMA came out and said, actually, no, we've got, you know, evidence that says they're just as normal as any other kids, so shut up.
Good.
Yeah, they're getting that information from NARTH, and for those that aren't aware, it's the National Association for Research and Therapy of Homosexuality, and Dr. Nicolosi is one name that's associated with them more recently. And some of the crap that they come out with, I mean, like what you were saying, Donna, like, you know, homosexuality is more dangerous than cancer. They are very big on equating homosexuality with pedophilia.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking the strict, psychological definition of what pedophilia. They think anything with anybody under the age of 17 is pedophilia, where it has a much stricter.
Not true.
Yeah, it has a much stricter as far as legal, But yeah, I mean, they like to compare. They like to think that NAMBLA and pedophilia and being gay are all the same thing, and it's not.
I see that a lot on religious forums all the time. I'm on a couple of religious forums because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I always get involved in the homosexuality threads for obvious reasons. And the two things that I see the most is, one is the argument of what's natural and whether natural is good, and the second is it being just as bad as bestiality and pedophilia.
That burns my ass so much when I hear that the gay people are no, pedophiles are overwhelmingly straight males.
Yes.
I mean, there is every variation out there, but overwhelmingly they are straight males. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with a sexual orientation. And a lot of times pedophiles they don't even care what gender, because a lot of times the children are young enough that there isn't a huge physical difference and they don't care. They will take whatever child they can get their hands on.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
Ugh. Sorry, major personal pet peeve for me.
Yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, and part of the reason is with 2016 elections coming up, I've been following more who I think are going to throw their hat in the ring as far as on the Republican side. And I mean, they're up to 16 possible candidates already. I mean, so yeah, I'm busy. And if you listen, Jeb Bush is about the only one right now that's wavering on the marriage equality and LGBT equality issue, although he kind of keeps backtracking because he knows he can't do it without the base. So it's going to be interesting to see which one really says, you know what, this is bullshit. I don't think any of them, because I don't think any of them are going to have the balls to do it, because to pull away from the party platform, so to speak, and finally say, you know what, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Well,
because like we were saying earlier, there is no secular argument,
no,
in my opinion, against marriage equality. None.
No. I mean, if they want to say, well, the as Donna was saying, the whole natural argument, who the fuck cares? Number one, if it's natural or not, it should have no relevance on it at all. Because really, if you want to think about it, monogamy in itself is not natural. We are not actually wired for monogamy. That is a social construct that we have chosen to pursue in large amounts, but it is not by any stretch a normal state of being. And then you get, the idea that something natural is good for you. Well, cyanide is fucking natural. I don't think I'm going to be eating any of that anytime soon. It's just ridiculous shit. But and as many people may not know, or hopefully you do know, but we have had marriage equality in Canada for a decade now. And if any religious people come across this show at some point, guess what? We're still here. We don't have the Antichrist. We haven't imploded. Nobody wants to marry their fucking dog. And oddly enough, we've just turned down a legal challenge to legalize polygamy, although it's still being argued. We are actually doing pretty damn fucking well since having marriage equality. So human marriage. What's that? Yeah, no animals, no. and you will happen to know that the last time I heard about somebody marrying an animal, it was in Africa in a largely Christian populated country. So no.
How ironic. The very first
Isn't
one.
it though? I think it was a goat, if I recall.
One with the donkey, I'm telling you.
It should have been the donkey, man, or the horse. Yeah.
Let's see.
I don't understand how any of these nut jobs cannot look at, and I mean there are other countries I think in Scandinavia who have had marriage equality for quite a while too. How can you not look at our examples and still spout the bullshit, especially the slippery slope shit? Because I'm sorry, if nobody's tried to marry a dog in a decade, I don't think it's going to happen.
They just like to the fear mongering.
It is. It absolutely is. Or the other one that I just burns my ass is, that whole, oh, well, they're going to try and turn your children gay.
Yeah, come join the club because we sparkle and we have rainbow cookies and shit.
Okay, here's a question for you. Who the hell turned me gay at 5 years old?
Exactly.
Well, and they haven't kind of clued in on the point that 100% of homosexual children came from heterosexual sex.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I mean, as they're so fond of pointing out, you can't get children from homosexual sex. So
Exactly.
just how did all of these gay people happen if, they can't create each other through sex?
Yeah, I saw something the other night because I've been following the Alabama thing, and there was a post the other night that said, if you legalize same-sex marriages, then okay, I just lost my thought.
It's okay.
If you legalize same-sex marriages, then I'm going to be forced to do the same. I'm like, what? So let me get this straight. So Beth is going to go get married, okay?
Yeah.
And then she's going to come to Georgia. And then because she's been given the right to get married, I'm going to be forced to do it too.
Yeah, I love that argument. It's like, no.
So let me know how it works out for you, because homosexuality and same-sex relationships have been going on for decades. It's just never been legalized.
Centuries.
Millennia.
And nothing's been forced on me.
Yeah. So does that mean that, if Donna gets married, then when I come down there that we're going to have to get married?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Uh-oh, Bobby.
We're gonna have our marriage ceremony on the way up to North Carolina.
Okay, there you go. I mean, that's just how crazy this shit is,
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people, I tell ya. So you don't have any real special nutters over there, Donna? Like we get, Pat Robertson or dumbasses like that.
Tony Perkins.
Oh, we get a lot of people that we don't remember the names of. We just remember what group they're from, because they just say so much stupid shit. People just go, what the fuck? I think the only one the whole of Australia knows about, or even the atheist community of Australia knows about, or the gay community of Australia knows about, is the freaking Prime Minister, because he's a friggin' knob jockey. Like, seriously. The sooner he gets booted out, the happier we'll all be.
I have to say, we've been lucked out because, our Prime Minister is I think he's a Pentecostal, or he's some kind of fundy bullshit. And when he came into power, a lot of the right-wingers started frothing at the mouth, going, because, of course, we have had legalized, well, actually, we have had no abortion law in Canada, since 88, I think. And so the right-wingers were like, "Woo, he's religious. He's going to, bring in abortion laws and ban same-sex marriage." And to his credit, as soon as he got elected, he was like, "I ain't touching that shit with a 10-foot pole." No, done, over. Now, he's been fucking around with our scientists, which is a whole other ball of wax, but at least he didn't go right-wing nut job on the, quote, big issues like all of his supporters thought that he would. So that's something, at least. And the attitude basically here is, it's done, it's over, there's nothing more to discuss, this is the way it is. And I can at least be happy about that. Because I remember... Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, our Liberal Party is famous for screwing over your average worker and putting more money in the back pockets of their mates. And that is exactly what Tony Abbott's been doing. He's adding more to the coal industry. He says coal is the way of the future. He doesn't believe that climate change is a thing. He is trying to strip us of our government subsidy Medicare and make people who can't afford basic doctor visits to pay more for it. And he's just screwing around with basically everything you wouldn't want him to touch.
He sounds like he's an American. No offense, guys. But
I think he wants to be American because the way he talks and some of the ideals he proposes and puts forward sounds very kind of George Bush American.
It does.
It's Ayn Rand is what it is. We were talking about this last night on another show, is what's happening, primarily what I'll say Tea Party, is they're taking an atheistic worldview of Ayn Rand, okay, and combining it with their religion. Now, if you haven't read Ayn Rand, she's very... doesn't believe in the social programs, even though she was on them at the end of her life. So they're trying to strip away our social networks that help the poor, but yet they're trying to meld that with, quote, being Christian.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the overall message of Christ, is do unto others as you want others to do unto you, but he was all for the underdog, the poor, the left behind, so to speak. So they're trying to combine two different ideologies into one, and it's just like you have people like, Rand Paul, and it's a dichotomy that I don't know how they can keep in their brain without exploding.
Well, it's all about what they get at the end of the day. Once I found out that Tony Abbott was all buddy-buddy with Rupert Murdoch, I knew that was the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Wasn't the Prime Minister before Tony Abbott, wasn't that an atheist lady?
Well, first we had Kevin Rudd, and he was Christian, but he was pretty in touch with the people. He was from the Labor Party, and they're about the working class. And then they overthrew him because he was burning out and wasn't treating people very well. And then in come Gillard, and she was atheist, but she was kissing the ass of the Labor the Christian Party.
Really?
And then, and her, when the election was nearing, her popularity was dropping really badly. So, because of the carbon tax and the way that the Liberals were, fear-mongering about the carbon tax and stuff. So they ditched her, put Kevin Rudd back in place, but it was too late. So I actually was hoping he would win because he came in with a fresh look. he had changed his view on homosexuality. He was going to put through same-sex marriage. He was going to work on the important issues, climate change, all that stuff that really needed focus on. But because there had been 2 changes through their 4-year period, people saw them as unstable and untrustworthy. So they ignored the fact that Tony Abbott is a fucking moron and can't have one conversation without contradicting himself at least twice, and put him in place. So.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Do you guys have term limits like they do in the U.S., or are you more like our kind of system without?
I think they can only serve 2 terms before they have to step down, and somebody else can make a bid for the lead position.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know if you guys know, but in Canada we actually have no term limits. So a prime minister can be prime minister as long as people keep voting him as prime minister or her. But but what goes with that is, if at any time they lose a non-confidence vote in Parliament, that's an automatic election, and that doesn't matter if they've been in office a week or 10 years. That's just boom, there's an election. So theoretically it's easier to remove them, even though they can keep getting, because I think Chrétien was in office 10 or 12 years, if I recall. And Harper's, it's been a long time. I'd have to look it up now, but it's been at least
going on 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like 6 or 8 years now. So, it's we'll see what happens. They're talking election this year possibly, but like I say, other than fucking with our science, and I found out at the non-conference just how bad that is. Like, he's actually mandating that government scientists change their results of experiments to do what he wants. And oddly enough, it's not actually religious based, which surprised me. It's corporate greed based, but either way, it's fucking ridiculous. But I'm hopefully that must have been disappointing, because it sounded like that incumbent candidate would have been really good for you guys.
Oh yeah, I was hoping against all hope that he would get voted in, but funnily enough, it's the people that get screwed over by the Liberals that vote in the Liberals.
Yeah. So.
And he's also taking away science funding and all of that as well. I think they took away the science minister position and, molded it into something else, which basically meant it won't get much attention.
Well, on the upside, at least you don't have Ted Cruz to head up your science.
That's true.
I mean, thank you guys for taking him. I'm very glad that he decided he did not want to be a Canadian any longer, or ever. Thank you.
You can have him back.
No. Hey, we still have Sci-10, okay? Like.
Oh, you keep him.
Yeah, you can definitely keep him.
He only lives down the highway from me in fucking Toronto, so thankfully I don't spend much time in Toronto anymore, because if I ever saw that fucker on the street, I'd be like, "Hey, Cy, how do you know you're standing on the street right now?" Are you sure it's snowing? Because I don't know. I'm not sure it's snowing.
You might want to explain that for people that aren't familiar with Sci-10.
Sci-10 Bruggencate is a presuppositional apologist, which is just one of the most slimy ways of attacking apologetics, and apologetics are slimy in the first place. But it's this whole bullshit. Well, his thing is that everyone really knows that God exists, and us atheists are just denying that reality. And then he goes from there. And he likes to say that, you can't really know anything is true unless God tells you that it's true. I'm like, what the fuck?
Ever watch anything don't let it be in real.
Ooh,
Holy moly!
Ooh, Australian Thunder.
Yeah.
You still with us, Donna?
Yeah, I don't know how, but I'm still here.
That is the thunder from down under. That's pretty damn amazing. That's technology, folks. We get to hear an Australian thunderstorm. Fucking A, because I love thunderstorms. So as long as you don't, disappear or get hit by lightning, that's really cool. Actually, on that note, I think I will play this week's Logical Fallacy, which special request from Miss Ashley. And just so you know, it actually turned out to be quite a bit longer than the usual Logical Fallacy, and you'll find out why when I get into it. But so this week's topic was a special request from Miss Ashley, so I hope she enjoys it. And it's actually going to be about 12 minutes, so if any of you ladies need to go powder your nose, now's a good time to do it. And now it's time for Logical Fallacies for Dummies. On this week's Logical Fallacy for Dummies, I'm going to talk about Pascal's wager. Wait, what do you mean? Pascal's wager is not a logical fallacy? Well, technically that's true. In of itself, it's not really a logical fallacy. However, it is chock full of other ones. So Pascal's wager kind of goes like this. Life is a game that we're playing, and in the game of life, we cannot actually reason out whether God exists or not, but we must make a wager or bet. We don't have a choice. So we have to look at, is it better off to wager that God exists or that God doesn't exist? So the idea is that if God exists and we claim that he doesn't, we have a lot more to lose because we're giving up eternal salvation and basically choosing eternal damnation instead. However, if we assume that God does exist, we aren't going to lose anything because, hey, if we're wrong, oh well, we won't know any different. And if we're right, then we get to go to heaven. So on its surface, it does seem pretty practical. And a lot of theists and especially Christians really like to use this. However, it is, as I said earlier, full of logical fallacies. So I'll get to the details of the logical fallacies in a moment. Another aspect of Pascal's wager I want to discuss first is the fact that it's not always obvious when someone's using it. It can be very subtly introduced into a conversation, and you may not even realize that you're being asked to make the proverbial choice in the discussion. So first, I'm going to play you some clips of various ways that the argument has been introduced so that you can kind of get a feel. There's very blunt, to the point ways of doing it, and there are other ways that, as I say, you wouldn't even know that you're being presented with Pascal's wager initially. Let's listen.
This is probably going to be the most simplest one for you to answer, but what if you're wrong?
Well, if you're wrong, then you go to hell. And if you're not, if you choose not to believe in God, and you're wrong, and you go to hell. But you could just choose to believe in God, and if you're not wrong, then you go to hell.
Look at your neighbor and say, you don't want to go to hell. Tell them on the other side, you don't want to go to hell. Did y'all tell them? You can be seated. I know that there's some people who teach that there is no place called hell. The Jehovah's Witnesses teach there's no place called hell, which is just completely opposite of what the Bible says. The Bible is clear about hell, clear that there is a place called hell. They say there's not no hell, but I'm surely not going to be a Jehovah's Witness and then wait to find out if there is a hell.
So the first speaker here is a student at a lecture by Richard Dawkins given to a university. She is doing the straight up, what if you're wrong? The second clip comes from an episode of the Atheist Experience, and it's a caller who's trying his hand with Russell Glasser, and yeah, you can imagine how that went. The third example is two pieces from a sermon given by a Pastor Jenkins that I found. The first part is really subtle. Tell your neighbor they don't want to go to hell. So you're basically saying, listen to what the pastor has to say, or otherwise you're taking your chances. And then he straight up says, I don't want to wait around to find out if the Jehovah's Witnesses are right because I think they're wrong. Straight up Pascal's wager, but stated in a way that isn't as obvious as, what if you're wrong? So that's the basic argument. And as I say, it does sound kind of practical on the surface, but yeah, it's full of logical fallacies, which are, well, to start off, we've got a giant false dichotomy here, which means that it's being presented as an either-or choice, that there's only two choices to make, and that's just not true. It presupposes that there is only the God of the Bible or no God, and that's because Pascal was a Christian, and so of course he's going to bank on the God of the Bible. But we can't say for sure. What if aliens are real? What if Cthulhu's real? Heck, raw men at the Flying Spaghetti Monster, hello. There is just more than two choices, and Pascal is forming a false dichotomy by trying to whittle it down just to either or. Then we get hit with a triple whammy of the argument from ignorance fallacy, which basically means that if we don't know whether something is false, then it must be true. So we get that from the assumption that the Christian God exists, which, as well as being part of the false dichotomy, is argument from ignorance. And the second part of that is assuming that that Christian God is the true God. And the third part is assuming that heaven and hell actually exist as well. We don't have any proof to the contrary, therefore he's assuming that those exist. This is argument from ignorance. Next, we get hung up on argument from consequences. So that says that either something really good or really bad is going to happen based on the argument, therefore the argument must be true. In Pascal's wager's case, we're saying some really bad shit is going to happen if you don't believe in God, and really good shit is going to happen if you do believe in God, therefore you should believe in God. Yeah, that doesn't make it true. It just says that there might be a higher risk involved, but it certainly is no proof of anything. Next, we see a version of the bandwagon fallacy. This holds that because something is increasing in popularity, it must mean it's true. So here we see the idea that more people are going to think going to heaven is better than going to hell, therefore the idea of heaven and hell must be true. Bullshit. Back in 2012, a lot of people started believing that the world was going to end in December. And how did that turn out? Doesn't mean anything is true, it just means that more people think it's true. And we all know that lots of people can think things that are wrong. There are actually even more logical fallacies involved with Pascal's wager, but I think we've made a good start here. So, one thing that sticks out in my mind, though, Pascal was a mathematician. You'd think he'd have a better grasp on logic than this. I mean, how many logical fallacies can you fit into one idea? Wow. So, how do we counter Pascal's wager? It's a lot easier than you might think. The big one for me is, well, how do I know I'm wrong? How do you know you aren't wrong? Are you a Muslim? Are you Jewish? Are you a Pastafarian Scientologist? Why aren't you any of those? Why are you taking the gamble that you could be wrong about Allah, or even the flying teapot or the invisible pink unicorn? You are making a choice based on many things, largely where you were born. Dawkins makes that point over and over again. Yes, maybe I am making a gamble, but based on the evidence, I am making a smart choice. They may counter you by saying, well, I have this holy text that proves my God is real. Again, bullshit. We don't have any proof that any God of any holy text is real. So for them to come and say that they have some kind of proof, I need to see something besides a holy book. Thank you. I'm not going to drastically change my life based on the premise of something we have no empirical data on. Sorry, that's just what critical thinking is. The other thing that comes to mind is the idea, well, you're not really losing anything if you just pretend that there's a God and follow his tenets. Bullshit. You can't pretend to believe in something. I'm sorry. You can't just decide to believe in something. Either you do or you don't. I can't, based on the knowledge that I have at this moment, choose to believe in a God for any reason, be it that I might be wrong or not. It's just not going to happen. And I don't want to have to be a baby factory or obey some man or have to go to church every week. There's lots of things that you could lose just for trying to believe something for the sake of believing it. If I decided that I needed to gamble on Allah and I had to walk around in a fucking potato sack, I don't think so. What if I want to be a Scientologist and I have to give thousands and thousands of dollars to get clear? No. There is a lot to lose by gambling on a religion or a deity that we have no proof of existence. I think of people like Mormons and Amish and things like that that give up so much on the premise of something they have no proof of. And that's the gamble I'm not willing to take. Special thanks this week to my good friend Dave Foda for pointing out some of the additional logical fallacies that I didn't even know existed in Pascal's wager. Thanks, man. We owe you one. And that concludes this week's Logical Fallacy for Dummies. Well, looks like the thunder from down under took Donna off.
Yeah, I noticed that.
She unfortunately seems to have vanished, and she was worried earlier that she might lose power. So, unfortunately, that seems to be the case, but the show must go on. So, I hope that was helpful, Miss Ashley.
It was. Boy, I'm going to go look for stuff now.
Yeah, that was really good, Deb.
Thank you.
I love that.
Oh, and I just heard from Donna. Get back. He thinks only I don't know that. So while we were listening to our logical fallacy, Beth said there was some big news that came in. You want to let us know about that?
Okay. Well, this is according to what website am I on? The New Civil Rights Watch movement. It's a left-leaning news site. American Family Association spokesman Brian Fisher has been fired.
Brian Fisher's been fired.
But his replacement's even worse. But we'll get to that. I'm going to read this straight from the article. It says, tonight Rachel Maddow broke a huge story. Thank you, Rachel. I love her to death. Smart woman. Brian Fisher, the director of issues analysis for the American Family Association, has been fired. The reasons are unclear, as is his future with the organization. Tim Wildman, AFA's president told MSNBC that Fisher is just a talk show host. Fisher has been the main spokesperson for the certified anti-gay hate group for years, and that's according to Southern Poverty Law Center, whether you like them or not. Daily spinning lies about the LGBT community, including his infamous claims Nazis were gay. My favorite. That's from Scott Lively, the Pink Triangle book.
Oh, I remember that. It's like,
Yes.
yeah, the fact that through gay people in concentration camps has no. Continue.
You broke up really bad. You might want to repeat what you were saying.
Oh, I just said that the fact that Nazis put gay people in concentration camps has nothing to do with anything, of course.
Yes, considering what I posted earlier today, the Nazi Party was formed in a gay bar, again that's from Lively, by homosexual thugs, and that Hitler himself was a homosexual. So why today? It goes because on Saturday, dozens, close to 100, members of the Republican National Committee will fly to Israel on a trip sponsored by and paid for by the AFA. The same AFA that had as its public face and top spokesman a man who says that the Jewish religion is counterfeit and Jews don't have First Amendment rights. But, and there are many buts, there is much more involved in this story, including the fact that Fisher's de facto replacement, of all people, David Lane, the head of the American Renewal Project, which is housed in and funded by AFA. Lane is so toxic that an op-ed he wrote for the World Net Daily, or World Nut Daily, depending on your POV.
I prefer World Nut Daily.
Yeah, the same site that regularly claims that President Obama is gay was so offensive it was actually removed from the site. Okay, so World Nut Daily removed an article. Okay.
Damn.
Think
that
about
had to be some pretty batshit crazy for them to take anything down, because they're usually pretty batshit crazy.
Yeah. Now, the writer of this article is, where'd it go? David Badash. And I'm probably slaughtered his last name, David, I'm sorry. He poses this final thought. Will Fisher sue the AFA for firing him for his religious beliefs? Think about that. Think about what it's setting up.
Maybe you should elaborate for folks.
It's going to be interesting to watch this story unfold.
Yes, it ties into all these throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping the noodle to stick lawsuits. Can he? Yeah. Now he could, because they're firing him because of his views, his religious views towards Judaism. Because they're going over to Israel. Now, in some people's mind, there is what is called Zionism, which I'm still learning about. I have a really hard time with it because I'm having my hard time wrapping my head around that whole concept. And then there are the people of Israel, people like you and I, who are Jewish. And it ties into the whole end times BS and yada, yada, yada. So this is going to be, like Ashley said, really, really interesting to watch unfold. So, but yeah, that is like huge. And I love the fact that Rachel Maddow broke the news. I love that because not only well, I don't know her religious views, but I'm going to say probably agnostic, but she is gay. She is smart. So yeah, this is big, very big, and I'm loving every fucking minute of it. So much for sleep.
Beth's gonna be up vlogging all night again.
But just to give you an idea of like how I mentioned about the Nazification or the demifying LGBT and atheists, this was a recent one actually this week. This is coming from Meta from Friendly Atheists. He posted, Brian Fisher highlights demonic energy, one of my favorite topics, of LGBT activists snubbing atheism along the way. American Family Association Brian Fisher has made a career of saying horrible, offensive, and insane things. This was just published yesterday, okay, from Hemet. It's by no means unusual for him to express contempt for atheists and our rights. He has postulated everything from taxes on atheists who don't go to church to barring atheists from the military. Nor is it unusual for him to link people and groups to Satan and demons. From the Yazidis to Muslim to LGBT activists.
Oh, the Azadis.
Thank you. Okay. You might think that there are no lines left for him to cross, but during Monday's broadcast of his show, he found one and crossed it, and he posts a Right Wing Watch video. Let's see. And he goes, what he said was this: I don't think you will ever find a more directly demonic energy than when you deal with the homosexual agenda, which somebody please tell me what my agenda is, because for the life of me, I can't find it.
You missed that meeting, apparently.
That means I lost out on the fucking toaster oven, doesn't it?
Yep, right, so. I think there was a cookware set with that, too. I don't know.
Oh, shit, I could really use that. But he goes on, this is a quote in Fisher, you literally are staring into virtually the unvarnished energy of Satan himself when you come up against the forces that are pushing the homosexual agenda forward. Hammett goes on, I, for one, am literally virtually irate. How dare he overlook the demonic energy of the atheist community? Now, I mean no offense to the LGBT community. This is Hammett speaking. They worked hard to, or I think it's Hammett, I'm assuming he wrote this article, but the fact is that we in the atheist community deserve more. And he goes on, it's just like, so this is the asinine shit that comes out of people like Fisher's mouth.
Yeah.
And they're just now getting around to get rid of him, which they're not because he's still hosting his talk show. Because they're pandering, and this is going to sound, the way I'm saying it's going to sound really horrible, and I don't mean it to, pandering to a voting bloc here in the United States. They don't want to offend Israel.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Ooh, looks like we got our Donna back. Hopefully.
Hi.
Hey. Hi, welcome back. Are you all energized now?
Yeah.
You can't tell, but her hair's standing on end right now. She's got a couple of scorch marks, but you know. Oh, we were just talking about news that broke that Brian Fisher of the American Family Association got fired.
Oh,
He's
wicked.
Yeah, well, yes and no, because apparently his replacement's worse, but, you know, baby steps.
No.
Man.
Damn
you know, we'll take what we can get.
Well, I have to laugh, though. One of the first comments on the Friendly Atheist article is this, and for those that know me, this whole demon thing just irks the hell out of me because of my background with having a botched exorcism when I was in college. But demons, demons, demons. Why is it always demons? Why not invisible dragons or unscrupulous wizards? Do they have no imagination?
It's the underpants gnomes. Come on, people. Because we never did find out what step 2 was. Obviously, it's create atheists and gay people, and then profit.
Yeah. It's just,
you know, I could respect people a little bit more if they would just come out and say, I think it's gross, instead of, well, God says, or, it's not natural, or it's not, like, just fucking admit it, just own it, just say, I think it's gross, and because I think it's gross, I want to prevent anyone else from getting to do it. Just fucking own it. At least I could have a modicum of respect for you if you would just own your own bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I will be the first to admit, when I started going out to the bars, gay bars, obviously. I mean, I have been to straight bars, but you don't see two guys kissing in a straight bar. The first time that I saw two guys kissing,
where you go to.
Well, true, around here. But it was really weird. I mean, I had, guy friends that were gay, but as far as PDA, I was not exposed to that until my mid-20s.
Right.
I mean, I knew growing up that I was gay. I didn't know the word for it until I was like 17, 18 years old. I didn't think, I had friends that were gay. I knew some of my teachers in high school were, but they didn't flaunt it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't something that we talked about. It just was. So when I first started going out to the bars, when I saw two guys kissing, it was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But as I got older and, as I thought about it and got to know these people, it's like, now it doesn't even faze me. I mean, come on. Look at on the football field. You got the quarterback sticking his hands in some guy's crotch.
Yeah. Well, and don't they now? I don't really watch any American football or Canadian football for that matter, but don't they like regularly slap each other on the ass after huddles and shit?
Yes. So I mean,
but that's considered manly.
Oh yes, and I bet they snap each other with towels in the locker room after too.
They do that here at work all the time, and I just chuckle because that's what runs through my head. I don't tell them that.
Well, I remember, I think I was like 20 or 21, and I remember this was back when Geraldo was still on the air, so I don't know if, Donna, if you remember that or not, but Geraldo had a show where he actually had a gay wedding on his show. Now, I think it was just a religious ceremony because it wouldn't have been legal then at all. That would have been like the early 90s, probably, like 91 or 92, but my mother walked in just as the newlywed couple were kissing, and she says, "Ew, why do they have to do that in public?" And I just looked at her. I was like, "Really?" I said, "Because my mother was married to my stepfather. And so, number one, they're divorced and remarried. And number two, my stepfather is a Mexican, and my mother is obviously a ginger." And I said, "Look, what if they said that, it was gross for you to kiss a Mexican in public, or like, divorced people are gross? Like, well, that's different." "Oh, really? Is it?" And I think we argued for like half an hour. And I mean, this is well over 20 years ago, but is pretty accepting of all gay people and whatnot. So, I mean, it can happen, but I just remember that I was like, why did I do that in public?
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of people, going along what you were saying, Deb, is, granted, when I was growing up, you didn't see it, but part of the reason you didn't see it is because of the, especially after Stonewall. I mean, yes. People were afraid of getting the fucking shit kicked out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just like we have the normalized atheism, that's basically what we want to do as far as the LGBT, at least I do, is that I don't want it to be an issue that I'm gay. So what? Most of the people that know me, and the kids downstairs that I work with are a prime example. They don't give a shit. They'll ask me questions. Yeah. But the more questions they ask, the better it is for me and anybody that they come into contact.
Yeah.
To me, to them, I'm normal.
And I mean, would you agree, Donna, that it's better for somebody to come to you and ask you questions like, look, I'm curious, what is this about, what is that about, than just being an ignorant twit?
I always say that when I'm on the forums. I say, if you want to know something about LGBT people, instead of just coming out with shit out of your ass and claiming that as a fact, or just making assumptions or believing what some straight white guy said, ask. And I say I'm always open to questions. I would rather you ask me than spread misinformation.
Absolutely. And I think, gay folks are going to be like straight folks, where you're going to get ones that are more shy than others. But I think on average, a person is going to be much more, it's going to be better if you went and said, look, I got told that, XYZ was true. Is that true? Like, I don't know. Like you said, it's instead of pulling it out of your ass, just like ask and get like actual information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if you get married, if you're allowed to marry, does that mean you're going to want to marry your dog next? Like.
Well, just so you know, before I had to give my kitty up, we did get married, so I guess we're going through a separation right now, but...
Oh, jeez. And I've got, I'm going to be a polygamist cat married, because I've got, five cats, and I could be a polygamous, bisexual, bestiality marriage person. There, you heard it there. We have marriage equality.
Breaking news.
Because we have marriage equality in Canada, damn it, so I'm going to marry everything that fucking moves.
And you're going to force everybody else to do the same thing.
That's right, because I'm going to take all my cats, and we're going to go to the park, and we're going to make everybody out there marry my fucking cats, too. Just because. You heard it, so stay the hell out of Victoria Park, because I'm coming, and you're going to have to marry all my cats. So there.
It's like the other day. One of the kids, we were talking about something, I don't remember what, and I just reached out and I touched him. I go, "Gay cooties, you're gonna be gay now." And he's like, and I said, "Well, that's what some people believe." And he's like, "Seriously?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, it's like, no, I gay is not catchy. Gay is not a decision. I mean, I'm sorry, I would not choose to be belittled. I would not choose to be hated. I would not choose to have ministers preaching from their pulpit that I should be stoned or burned at the stake pretty much on a daily basis, or compared to ISIS or compared to,
ISIS? Really?
David Manning, didn't you see my little meme I made?
Oh, I must have missed that. I didn't know that. So does that mean you guys use rainbow knives when you behead somebody?
Oh, I should make a new meme on that one. Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
I'm going to have... Oh, that's really good, Deb. Remember that.
Okay.
I won't. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I've been doing these, this is what I'm sick of, with pundits and pulpits saying just stupid shit. And he goes, this is just part of his quote, he goes, "If the word of God says stone, based on a heinous violation of humanity, and ISIS or Al-Qaeda or anybody else who has the wisdom and the integrity to reference that scripture, then yes, I agree with them." Now, he's the one that said that there's semen in Starbucks coffee.
Oh, yes, I remember who he is.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Adam Reek's his best friend.
Oh, yes. He loves him.
Who's best friend?
Adam Reeks of the Herd Mentality.
Oh,
Adam's the guy who did the skits with Manning's voice.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, if you go look it up. You'll laugh yourself stupid, let me tell you.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Adam is like the Svengali of voice recordings. There's like nothing that guy can't do with a good voice recording.
Okay,
Well,
I will have to look him up.
Absolutely, herd mentality. Well, ladies, it's getting near the end of the show, so let's go around and let everybody do their pimping. So, Beth, where can we find all your fabulous memes and blog posts?
Okay, well, I'm going to make one final
Yes,
point
please.
here. This was a quote I came across today, and yes, I made another meme out of it. It was written in 2014, so the numbers might be a little different this year, but it's in regards to the Holocaust and Nazi Germany and gays, being incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, it seems incredible that in 2014, this is when he wrote it, 78 countries around the world would either imprison me or put me to death simply for being gay.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I choose no more than the accident of my birth that means that I am to be a Jew. He's a Jew and gay, so it is clear that when it comes to gay people, at the least, there are still many lessons from the past that still need to be learned.
Yep,
So.
You got that right.
But as far as finding me, Havoc and Chaos is my blog. It's on Blogger. You type in Havoc and Chaos, you'll find me. I'm on Facebook under Beth A. Hambridge. You can find me there. I like to meet new people, and I always forget my Twitter. It's @Dune9998, and I'm not very good at Twitter, so bear with me.
But she's getting better. She is getting better. And Miss Ashley, where can we find you and Bobby C?
You can find us at, this is a tongue twister, Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, NoReligionRequired.com, and you can also, I have a Twitter, and mine is Miss_Ashley_NRR.
Excellent. And you guys are part of Dumbass Media as well, is that?
Yes.
Excellent. And Miss Donna Downunder, where can we find Big Chesticles?
Big Chesticles is transitioning from Podbean to Spreaker, so you can find me on both of those. Got the first couple of episodes up on iTunes. Just search for Big Chesticles. Facebook, it's Big Chesticles. Twitter is @LadyBallsBlog, and the blog is bigchesticles.wordpress.com.
Excellent.
And where can we find you?
So, right here. But, I don't know if anybody knows, but I actually now have another show, because, I'm not everywhere already. So, a friend of mine, Kai, and I have started a new, this is strictly a podcast for now. It's called My Secular Savior. And basically, we are trying to be an extra safety net for people. It's a place where we talk about life's hard issues, but from a secular perspective. So we're not really going to talk about atheism per se, but we want to talk about things like our first full episode was on the basics of depression. We're going to be recording tomorrow and talking about the experience of feeling suicidal, and we hope to create a community for people to feel safe, to have people to talk to. Like we're not professionals. We're just people that have lived through a lot of shit and understand a lot of different things, and we want to just provide a safe place for people to talk about that kind of thing. So we have 3 episodes up so far. We are at mysecularsavior.com. You can see, you can actually listen to the show there. And we are on iTunes now as well. So it's My Secular Savior. So we're really excited about it. We hope to be able to help people, give a voice to people. And one thing, like, it's just the 2 of us so far, but we, for tomorrow's show that we're going to record, we have our first listener provide what we call their diary. And so we're really excited about that, because that's what we want to do. We want all of our listeners to be able to talk about their own experiences and provide, talk about what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and just to let everybody know that you don't have to go through life's challenges alone, that there's always somebody out there somewhere who has been through the same thing and who can understand at least some of what it is that you're going through. So we're really excited about that.
Deb, if I could say, and this is coming from personal experience, I applaud what you and Kai are doing.
Thank you.
Being one that is bipolar. As you probably figured out, I'm manic tonight. That's why my jaw didn't shut. But it's really important that people know that there are people out there. And I won't say that it's an underserved area in the secular community. It's becoming more popular, for lack of a better word. But yeah, I give you both kudos for that. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's something that is really important to both of us. Like I said, we both had challenges in life, and I know for me, and if anybody listens to my solo episode talking about sexual abuse, and that is really important to me, I want everybody out there to know that, if you've experienced something like that, you are so not alone. And there are so many people out there who understand what you've gone through and can relate to it, and that you can talk to in a safe and secure environment to other people out there too. So that's just something super important to me. But we have so many things that we want to talk about. Suicide is, we're starting with 2 episodes. And all of these things that we want to talk about, just because we've talked about it once already does not mean we won't revisit it. Like, we talked about depression, but we are absolutely going to talk about it again and maybe again and again. It's all about what people need and what people feel like they want to talk about too. So we have already about 30 episode topics outlined. I think Kai sent me another episode list today that I haven't had a chance to look at. So we could be well over 30 ideas so far. But, do check us out. We're on Facebook as well. My Secular Savior. We have a page there. So do check us out. Have a listen. And please, if you have any input or a story of your own, contact us. We would absolutely love to talk to you and maybe let you tell your story on the show if that's something you want to do. So ladies, thank you. Before we call it a night, anybody have anything else they want to say? No.
That's silent. I want to say thank you for having me back on.
Well, thank you for coming. We always love having you. Oh, and I should say, guess what I'm doing tomorrow? What am I doing tomorrow, Miss Ashley?
Oh, yes, you are, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Miss Deborah will be coming on our show for us to interview her.
Yep.
So what time? She's going to do that tomorrow, and the episode will be out on Sunday.
Yep. And I'm even going to stick around for Bible study.
Yes, and you will be on Bible study as well. It'll be episode 46.
Woo! Yay.
Excellent.
So you get 3 days of Miss Ashley and Heretic Woman. Ooh.
Yeah, well, wait till we have our road trip, then they'll really get it.
We might be getting married on the road trip. I got a bottle of wine sitting in that refrigerator that I refuse to open until reason comes.
Yeah, we can open Moscato too, I hope.
Yes, it is.
I know. I mean, this is big, but it's going to be gone by April, so,
Oh, no. I've got it sitting, and matter of fact, I think, you know what? I think it's Australian.
Oh, there we go.
Go the Australian wine.
We'll drink it in your honor, Donna. There we go.
Oh, awesome.
All right, folks. Well, that's this week's episode. Join us next week. and we'll have a good old time. So to close us out, our good friend Dave Foda will be reading us his Humanist Creed.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.